Thank you, everyone. As you might have heard, Global Citizen is partnering with the government of South Africa and the European Commission over the coming months to drive investment from governments, financial institutions, and businesses to dramatically scale up renewable energy across the continent of Africa. The question is, let's give that a round of applause. Big topic. Question is why is this important and what is the hold up? And I'm excited that we have this incredible panel here today. And to kick us off, Jean, I'm going to come directly to you because as we've heard throughout the day, there are aid cuts happening in the world. And so there might be some skeptics here in the audience who might say, well, is energy access in parts of the world, in Africa, is this even a priority for governments like yours, wealthier nations like Belgium? And are you interested in this? So what's your response to that? Is that true?
First of all, congratulations for this great event, and it's a pleasure to be here. And you are right, there is a paradox. Not only investment in energy, but we see a decrease of investment in international cooperation, while the need for international cooperation has never been as great as now. It's the US, but it's also most of the European government having cut their government spending on international aid. So we need to reverse the trend. And events like this one is a good one to create awareness. If you look at the African continent, it will be 4 billion people by the end of the century. 4 billion people, if they consume energy the way we have done here in the US or in Europe, it's the whole planet that is at risk. And there is a lot of focus now on the war and the Russian threat and increasing defense budget. But I plead that international cooperation is also an investment for common security, because the climate threat is also a threat to our common security and our common humanity. So we should reverse the trend.
So I think that was yes, this is a priority for Belgium, and we can count on Belgium to join us in Johannesburg. So round of applause there. Minister Kaba, and I should say Minister Kaba is going to speak in French, and I will translate in English. But Minister, you are the person in your government responsible for rolling out national development, including energy access. To the governments, the businesses here in the room, why should they care about this in terms of your country?
Merci. Je vais commencer par remercier Global Citizen en octobre 2024 pour la campagne à Abidjan avec ses partenaires pour IDA 21. C'était un grand succès, 100 milliards de dollars. Merci beaucoup. Pour revenir à notre plan de développement, il faut dire que depuis 2012, tous les plans de développement ont mis l'énergie au centre pour 3 raisons. 1, accompagner le développement industriel du pays. 2, fournir des infrastructures sociales de base aux populations. Et enfin, fournir aux populations et enfin donc libéraliser, on va dire, consolider notre place de hub sous-régional en matière d'énergie parce que nous fournissons l'énergie à nos voisins. Le plan que nous mettons en place actuellement a 3 composantes essentielles. Donc nous avons une stratégie pour fournir tout le pays en énergie. Deuxièmement, on a libéralisé la production, la distribution et le transport de l'énergie depuis 2014 pour le pays. Et dernièrement, donc, le dernier point, on a mis en place 2 sous-programmes pour avoir l'accès universel à l'énergie en 2030.
So the Minister thanked us for joining today, and Global Citizen had the opportunity to participate and go to Abidjan last year. And she said that since 2012, we've made energy issues a top priority, aiming to support industrialization, ensure population access to basic social services, and strengthen her nation's position as a regional energy hub. She said Côte d'Ivoire's energy strategy through the year 2030 includes a nationwide plan for the country's electric grid, incentives for private sector participation, and the adoption of entirely new programs to guarantee universal electricity access by 2030. And bearing in mind that 600 million people across sub-Saharan Africa do not currently have access to reliable energy. And not only that, the minister also said that thanks to reforms that her government's made, power generation and renewable energy in particular now accounts for 24% of her nation's energy grid. And I think, Zoisa, that's a good segue to you. If you don't know about Octopus Energy, I encourage you to look them up. They are an incredibly disruptive, groundbreaking organization, particularly well known in the UK for prioritizing access to renewable energy, both solar and wind. And by the way, when it's not always been popular to do so. And so, Zoisa, in a short amount of time, your organization has grown tremendously. What's been the secret to your success?
It's really simple, and it's that the power of people in this movement is absolutely extraordinary. When you look at renewables, you're currently trying to retrofit them into systems which they don't necessarily fit. So grid systems that connect projects back to households. And they can be really costly and expensive. But by focusing on what people want and making sure that we're actually giving them cheaper electrons for doing the right things with renewables, we've really managed to hit on a new model. So one of the examples of this is a tariff that we call the Fan Club, and it's connected to our wind turbines. And if you live close by, it's quite simple. We'll send you a price signal on your mobile phone, and you respond to it, and you can get as much as 50% off your energy bill for using energy during those periods. So charging your car, putting your washing machine on, any intensive chores that you might do. The success of that has been, I think, out of this world, more than we ever expected. It was overnight sellouts on our turbines that had fan clubs for us, but it was almost what happened next. Which was creating a new model for renewables, where we had, in the UK, at a time when nobody wanted wind, it was banned, 30,000 communities write to us and say, come and build a wind turbine in our back garden if it means we get cheaper energy as a result. So we started to pull that data. We work now across Europe with a model that we actually call Winder, which is Tinder for wind. So it matchmakes communities with wind turbines. But the serious message is that with something like that, where we've used tech, great productization, and consumers, we've actually created an opportunity where we could be building about 8,000 turbines across Europe, which equals almost a 6 billion investment opportunity. And this is just on wind alone. We can do this on solar as well.
So, yeah, let's give it a round of applause. And the concept of a fan club is incredible. I encourage you all to look it up online. It's a great example of shifting policy, but showing through the business case what's possible. Minister Kaba, I want to come back to you. You know, how can initiatives like the Scaling Up Renewable campaign that Global Citizens organizing, those of us present here, how can we support you? If there was one thing we can do to support energy access in your country, what is it?
Oui, notre stratégie de passer d'un mixte avec de 24% d'énergie renouvelable à 45% est basée sur le secteur privé. Parce que c'est le secteur privé qui a aidé le pays par le passé à accroître sa production d'énergie. Donc, c'est une campagne qui est importante, qui est essentielle pour mobiliser les financements privés et accompagner donc la Côte d'Ivoire pour porter à l'échelle son mix énergétique de 34% à 24%. Et on voulait saluer donc l'événement, saluer la campagne de lancement à laquelle nous avons pris part à Rio de Janeiro l'année dernière. Merci beaucoup.
So, the minister outlined, and of course we know they've made tremendous progress, her government's ambition is to increase the share of renewable energy from 34% to 45% by 2030, which, by the way, is in line with the Paris Agreement. And yeah, we should give that's an amazing ambition. But she said utilizing renewable energy sources, whether it's hydropower, biomass, solar energy, The Scaling Up Renewables Energy campaign is critical to mobilizing the funding needed to advance this strategy over the next 5 years and help economic growth. And she implores us all to help. And I will add this, having gone to her country twice last year, it's also an incredibly beautiful city, the city of Abidjan. So she welcomes you to her city as well. So Jean, I want to come back to you and building off of something Zoisa said earlier. You know, Octopus is an example of a company leading with renewable, but you hear from business leaders around the world and they just say, you know, clean energy, it just isn't profitable enough in other parts of the world, including the continent of Africa. And they say fossil fuels is way cheaper. But is that really the case? Is that true?
It's a good question. Indeed, many countries in Africa have gas. If you look at Senegal, Tanzania, Namibia, they could develop their gas potential because it's there and it's immediately profitable. But I think it's our role, and it's the role of international cooperation to leapfrog and technologies. And one example is green hydrogen. If you look at a country like Namibia, they have also the potential to develop their green hydrogen production. And that's what we do as the Enabel Belgian Development Agency, together with Belgian investors. We are supporting Namibia to develop, next to the gas, a green hydrogen production that can be used for shipping, but also for local production and local industrialization. So it's true that it's now more expensive, but it will be cheaper in the coming 10 years. If you look at Belgium, the country I come from, we have wind turbines for more than 3,000 years. And for 3,000 years, we didn't use them, the moulin à vent, as we say in French. It was there, but we thought we could have other energy like coal. And now we come back, and we have in Belgium, between Belgium and the UK, the largest wind turbine system in the world. So we sometimes try to reinvent the wheels, but things have been existing for long.
I think that's incredible, and a good message of hope, especially for the naysayers out there, that renewable, it's one of the fastest, cheapest ways to deliver energy access. And Zoisa, perhaps to finish back with you, really excitingly, Octopus is also partnering with Idris Elba. I think we all know Idris, and he's an incredible supporter, and he's partnering with Zoisa and her company on a project in Sierra Leone. But I'm interested, what lessons, you know, from the UK and Europe do you find maybe don't apply in emerging markets, including across Africa?
Such a great question. I would say that retrofitting renewables into a fossil fuel system, I would definitely not apply in this instance. At the moment, it will currently take you to build a wind or solar farm up to 8 years in many countries in the UK and Europe, and that's because of red tape, but then also connecting to grids, because they're just not made for distributed renewables. And there's lots of things we can do to solve that with digitization, etc. But we are in the wrong mindset to do it. Now, I think in many countries in Africa, it's so inspiring to see the pace that is set, and particularly markets like Kenya, where in the same time that it will take you to build one large solar farm in the UK, 7 or 8 years, they have managed to increase energy access from about 17% to up into the 70s, and 100% in urbanized areas. And that is on a decentralized solar model, so building sources of energy closer to people. I think when you look at increasing energy access, the definition technically to actually do that, I think the International Energy Association says it's about a tenth. To create energy access, you need to give around a tenth of the average annual US household to households across Africa. So when you break that down, I think it translates into about 3 solar panels, and it would be able to do basic things like refrigeration, light bulbs, etc. You can fit those solar panels in an afternoon, and a solar panel costs about $120, and the price is coming down. So you're not talking here about having to think around how do I retrofit that into a system it's not made for. You can deploy in days, and you can really, really set a pace. And that's exactly what we're doing in Sierra Leone, which is looking at a decentralized wind farm that will bring electricity to a community for the first time of about 2,000 homes, enough power. It will also have battery storage, and it will also have solar. And we're actually collecting the data here. So that's what it's for. It's collecting the data to feed new financial models that we are actually using real time in countries like Sierra Leone, not using kind of feeds into models that we would have used in the UK, but actually in that environment, so that we can create a model that's fit for purpose, that we then hope to scale not only in Sierra Leone, not only in West Africa, but be able to bring across the continent.
So there's a strong message that actually Africa could actually leapfrog and move at a much faster pace of uptake than other countries around the world. That's what the Scaling Up Renewable Energy campaign is about. That's what we're here. We invite you all to be part of this. Join us later this year. Come to Johannesburg, bring the commitments, and we will do this together. And please join me in giving a big round of applause to this incredible panel. Thank you all.